This is much more than just a circuit tracer or a quick identification tool. This is like your troubleshooting lifeline. And if you learn how to master this, you can make yourself and your company, or even save yourself, a ton of money. And you're not dialing in, and you're not trying to tone with the light. You're gonna find the wrong wire, guaranteed. It is not flashing. When I connect this, you're getting the flashing light. You want to learn how to use these like a professional. By the end of this video, we're going to show you how to tone, how to trace, how to connect the wires, where to connect them, the importance of having a good ground, especially on this terminal here, how to know if you have a good ground and how to find one, and what some options are if you don't think you can find one, how to trace with this light here. That's very important. Not all toners have this light. I'm going to show you how to dial this toner in. This toner, for example, looks like it has the same kind of light, but these two toners, even though they're from the same company, are very different, and you should definitely stay away from this one. And just all around how to troubleshoot, actually find what you're looking for, even just sharpen your skills with the toner. So number one, we're going to go ahead and turn this on. Power button there. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to push down the intensity button. It could be a wheel on yours. Whatever it is that sets it to the lowest sensitivity is what you want to use. You want to put it on the lowest setting. Next, we're going to turn on the actual generator. You're going to get a couple of lights. Yours could be different. I think just about every generator is going to have an alternating feature. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on right now. Mine is this button right here, and you can see my lights are alternating. Now I'm going to try to keep this off as much as possible for this video because I've made several videos on this. We no doubt have the best videos on YouTube on how to use this. I'm going to keep your sanity in mind and try to keep this on as little as possible. Once we're starting to get our tone, you're going to notice that as we get closer, it gets a little bit louder. For my toner, I need to turn it up about 4 clicks. But what we're doing is we're going to want to dial in our toner until this light turns on when we get next to this red lead. We're going to push this button up. I'm going to push mine 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. We might go up 1 more click just to make it easier for the video. So now we're dialed in. You don't want to turn your generator off like I did, or your toner. I'm just showing you how to use it. You're going to leave that setting on, and now we're ready to clamp our wires. The black goes on a ground, and not just any ground. You could have a situation where you're trying to trace wires. Wires could be burnt up. The ground that you think you're clamping to might not even have a ground source at all. So how do we know if we have a good ground source? Hands down, the best way to know is with a multimeter. If you go to a known live source, if you go to a hot, it's the ground. If you get 120 volts and you're in a house and it's a 120 volt circuit and you get 120, that's a very good indicator that you've got a suitable ground to start toning with. Just about every video that I see on YouTube, I see people tying these to the neutrals or to the grounds, and there is no source. It could be on a piece of Romex. They might not even actually be fully connected to anything. It's very important to tie this to a known, used ground source, nothing that's floating. What if we have no access to any grounds around us? Well, you got to get creative. So now I'm going to show you what happens when you use a ground and why you're going to want to connect to a ground. It just amplifies the intensity that much better and makes your tracing experience a lot easier. So by connecting to this ground, we're going to amplify the signal and we're going to make our tracing experience that much easier. We're connected to the ground here. Took our clamp, plugged into the ground. Should be good to go. This red here, that way you can see it. You still see we're alternating here. We're going to turn this on. The red's not able to move. You can see where we're getting the light flash. Ground is disconnected. We no longer get our flashing light. I'm going to connect this back. You can see where the light is not flashing. When I connect this, you're getting the flashing light. And that's why you connect this lead to a known ground source. I've used extension cords before. I've verified I had 120 volts on the extension cord with a multimeter. Then I've taken just the ground prong in that extension cord plug some leads, some wires, whatever I could to it, even a little piece of Romex. And you can even get these little alligator clamps on Amazon that help you extend whatever it is, or just little test leads. And these will be lifesavers too. There was one situation where I wound up actually clamping to the customer's hinge on their oven after I verified voltage and stuff, just to know that that was a suitable ground, because this kitchen was just, every wire was burnt up in it, and I was trying to trace things out and I had no great ground source. So I ended up going to the kitchen oven and it worked really well. So once you got your ground attached, this is going to go on the wire in question. This is the one that you're trying to trace. And as you can see before, you've already got this dialed in perfectly to where you're toning with the light and not the sound, and you can pinpoint those wires that much. If you get in a crowded box and you're not dialing in and you're not trying to tone with the light, and we just have this on to max and we're alternating like this, you can see where we wind up getting that light and we're not even close to any wires yet. And that's absolutely the wrong way to use this. You're going to find the wrong wire, guaranteed. Let's talk about why these things are so valuable, because sure, you can use them as toners and you can just trace one or two circuits or maybe a network cable or something, but these do so much more than that, because with all the power off, and by the way, this has to be used with the circuit off. Don't put it on live circuits. With the circuit off, you can actually disconnect certain receptacles and stuff, and you can start going around and attaching this to your wires and treating it as if it was voltage. What I mean by that is, with this toner on, you're going to be getting the constant beeps. So you're going to kind of have an idea of where your circuit is going and where your circuit is not. And you can kind of treat it as if it was 120 volts and you're able to take a multimeter and figure out, okay, I've got my circuit here and I've got this circuit here. But what's the best thing about this is that you don't really know what circuit it is, because once your panel's on, pretty much all your power's on. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what circuit you're plugging into, versus once you're tied on to the circuit in question, you know for sure what you're troubleshooting, and you know that if this plug is on, I know it's tied to this toner. So you can leave this on and you can start putting Wagos and jumpers and little test leads and jumpering things. You can take all the receptacles out and start just tying them together, tie the neutrals to the neutrals and your hots to your hots, and jumpering things around and trying to map out the whole circuit throughout the house to try to figure out where are you missing the neutral or where are you missing the hot. If you start on the left side and you start working your way around the room, you know, you're going to find it in kind of a series, daisy chain kind of effect. But if you don't really know where to start, one really good option is to start cutting the room in half. If this is your room here, we've got maybe a receptacle here, and we know they're there because we can visually see them. Maybe we have two on this wall because there was a door here. And they would normally be going around in a circle like this, and this receptacle is not working. One good thing you can do, you could go over here and you could pull this whole receptacle out of the wall, putting your toner on here. But if you want to visualize all your plugs in a line, one thing that I like to do, especially if you're doing like lighting in a hospital or something, just cut your circuit in half. Just cut it in half. Turn the power on. See what turns on. Just go to this receptacle, pull all the wires out of the wall, cap them off so it's safe. Just turn the power on, see what happens. Because you might wind up where now the circuit is able to turn on because we had a dead short over here. And once we isolated it, we knew that this half of the room is the problem. And then you can simply put this back together and open up this box. Or open up this box, and that will tell you whether this receptacle is good or bad. And there could be another plug in another room that's going to that could be shorted. So it's not so cut and dry on I went around the room and I checked this plug and everything was good. You could have something on a different part of the house that somehow got connected, and that happens a lot. You can't trace through conduit. Shielding, something like that, you're not going to be able to trace with. So EMT is out, MC, things like that cannot be traced. You can, however, trace the individual wire once it's out of the sheathing or conduit, but you're not going to be able to trace through conduit. You can trace through PVC and non-metallic things. So in this case, Carflex was non-metallic. And the funny thing is, this kind of gives you a weird kind of tone when things are shorted out. So if this is on and alternating like it should be, and they're touching, the tone goes away instantly. So you're going to know you have a problem. Also, you get this continuity light when they're touching. So this is much more than just a circuit tracer or a quick identification tool. This is like your troubleshooting lifeline. And if you learn how to master this, you can make yourself and your company, or even save yourself, a ton of money. Those service calls start close to $500 just to even find one GFCI. So $80 for this tool can potentially save you $500 immediately, instantly. And it's not hard to figure out. You can do it safely if you are somewhat of an avid DIY or you want to turn off all the circuits in your panel. One more thing before we get into that. When I say turn off your circuits in your panel, you don't want to ever throw the main, because the main to your panel has a spring tension to it, and it's used to being in a certain position, and it sees a lot of heat over the years. And when that main doesn't trip or doesn't move for a while, when you do turn it off, sometimes that spring breaks and it doesn't like to turn back on. That right there is a $700 to $1,000 service call in itself. So don't throw your main. You're better off throwing all your little individual breakers on your panel and making sure everything in the house is safe and not really working in the panel. That's going to be your best bet, especially if you're DIY. I highly recommend nobody touch the main in their house. Throw off all your individual breakers. The most expensive breaker that you're going to be buying could be a 100 amp double pole breaker for like 50, 60, 70 bucks maybe. So you're better off with a failed $70 breaker that you can swap out yourself versus having to call the utility company, pull the meter, replace the main. You can see where I'm getting at here. So keep that in mind. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate all the comments. We usually get a lot of comments on these. If you have any questions, if you're needing help troubleshooting, if you want to run a scenario by me, a lot of people do, and I'm eager to help. So let me know how I can help you. Talked about it before. Don't get this Klein toner. That light there is actually not a true sensitivity light. This light will turn on no matter how far away you are from the source. It's just always on. So make sure you're getting the right one. I highly recommend this one. This is the VDV 500 123, and this is the VDV 500-163. And even Fluke makes some of these that don't do some of the features that this Klein does. This can be found at Lowe's for like 80 bucks. It's money well spent. This is a very decent toner. Also, the bottom of it has spots where you can plug wires directly into the bottom for speed. And it also has a built-in light. So let me know if I can help you guys out in any way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.